I think that obviously everyone will be excited if they win the number one overall pick, right? But how valuable is the number one overall pick this year is kind of my question, because there are a lot of guys here that while they have high ceilings, they also have really low floors, right? Anthony Edwards, you could tell me he's anywhere from like a Victor Oladipo, Bradley Beal hybrid to a Dion Waiters-y, like sixth man off the bench, right? That's genuinely the floor. With LaMelo Ball, you could tell me he's like a Rajon Rondo right now, which is like a backup guard, or you could tell me he is an unbelievable superstar point guard. I have him at number one. I think he's probably going to be closer to the latter than the former, but there's real floor there, right? So these teams are going to have to give this player that they pick at number one overall something in the range of a 4-year, $47 million contract. It is basically a mid-level exception for at least 2 years, likely 4 years at the end of the day. So how valuable is this pick really to specific teams that might already have a point guard in LaMelo Ball, might already have a lead ball handler in Anthony Edwards, might already have a center in James Wiseman's case? So I'm still trying to figure out what I want to win the number one overall pick in this draft.
I'm with you 100%. And I've talked to plenty of NBA GMs that said they really don't want this pick. They'd rather have somebody else make the number one pick for them. Now, a lot of people are saying, well, whoever gets number one, trade down, trade down. As you're saying, Sam, the value isn't there to trade down for the most part, is it, Matt?
You know, it's tough. I mean, on one hand, that's not a ton of money if you're looking at the overall cap. I do agree with Sam, though. I would rather get the same player 4 or 5 picks later if you could. Right. You know, and with Edwards and Ball, I mean, their upside is clearly high. I mean, I have Edwards, I have number one as far as upside goes, and Ball is probably right behind him. And they're the guys, I'm not sure I want to take them. I don't know if I want to pass on them either. And so that kind of falls into the same conversation of like, hey, maybe we'd be better off, you know, getting 3, 4, or 5 and getting a same level player that might even be a safer pick.
All right. So again, you've got Edwards. Sam has LaMelo. I have Wiseman.
Well, actually, hey, Jeff, sorry to cut you off. I have Edwards as far as the most upside. Yeah, I don't have him as the clear-cut number one player, but I think upside-wise, I would put him at number one.
But I think, again, I think this shows what the draft is all about, that it's kind of beauty is in the hands of the eyes of the beholder for the most part. Let's go through. And if Golden State gets the number one pick, you're Bob Myers. I'm taking James Wiseman. I'm not even thinking twice about it. I'm taking Wiseman. I think he fills a need there. Yes, he probably fills a 15-minute-a-game need. But I'm rolling the dice and saying, hey, I want to win a championship in the next couple of years, and I don't think LaMelo or Anthony Edwards are going to be able to help me where I need help. Agree or disagree with that theory?
I disagree if your goal is to win a title next year. They have this massive Andre Iguodala trade exception, right? That's something in the range of $17.2 million. I'd be attaching the, number 1, number 4, number 5, 2, 3, whatever they end up with, to that $17.2 million trade exception and getting whatever guy I can. And there are different ways that they can go about doing that. They can actually, for instance, move the trade exception to Minnesota, attach a little asset, bring back James Johnson, and then James Johnson goes out and they can end up getting more than the $17.2 million with that trade exception. So they're not just limited to 17.2. Their, I think, limit is something in the range of like 19 to $20 million in terms of a player that they can acquire. That guy that they acquire for 19 to $20 million, in addition to that number 1 to number 5 overall pick, whatever they end up with, that's going to be a lot more valuable to them, I think. Like, that's going to be the guy that can legitimately help them win a title. Like, the name that I continue to come back to is Aaron Gordon in that regard. I think he'd be really, really helpful for them.
He'd be terrific. He'd be terrific for them. I mean, he's exactly what they need right. In terms of that athletic big who just plays hard. Skill levels gotten better, but he's still not a super skilled guy. Matt, where would you go if you're Golden State? You agree with – I like that if they can pull in a guy that can help them win. I guess what I was saying is if you're choosing between Wiseman, Edwards, or LaMelo, sure, I would choose James Wiseman if I were Bob Myers.
Yeah, no, Jeff, I agree with you. We actually currently have Wiseman going to Golden State in our mock draft, and I think he's plug and play. I actually think he could fill a bigger role than 15 minutes a game. I think he could be a guy that's their main guy, holding down the low post and be their defensive anchor. And he's a really sharp kid. I mean, 4.3 GPA in high school. I think he's going to be able to step in. And even though the big man position is a lot simpler now than it used to be, he's still going to be able to pick up, the NBA game. And I think be able to step in and be a productive guy, even maybe on a championship level team. And my other concern would be, okay, say you're looking at LaMelo Ball or Anthony Edwards, which are ball dominant guards. It will change the dynamics of that team completely. Steph Curry's been penciled in as the point guard for years. He's still a shooting guard. He initiates the offense. He's running around off screens. Draymond's really the key playmaker there. You bring in Edwards and Ball and expect them to play 30 minutes a game, you pretty much take Draymond's offensive influence out. And then defensively, you're probably going to have to play a lot of minutes of Steph, LaMelo or Anthony Edwards, and Klay as a 3. Your backcourt is much more vulnerable, with two of those guys on the defensive end.